I'll start.
Yes, please.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. Is there energy left in the room? Or is it all here with me, or is it there? Okay, I see smiling faces. That's a good sign. I got the assignment to do a TED Talk. I like to watch TED Talks. I hope I still like to watch TED Talks after I have experienced this whole troublesome assignment. Okay, what is my topic about? It's social media for development. What is it? How did I come to this? That's the essential of the TED Talk. So I'll start a little story of how I became involved with this topic in ICT for development. I used to study astronomy. It's about stars. It's about theoretical physics. It's not about human. And then, I don't know why, I made a shift in my life and became involved with healthcare's IT systems, educational IT systems. And it was really great. But after a while, it became boring because big organizations have lots of paperwork and less to do with the actual end user, as we saw this scenery here today, or with patients, as been shown in South Africa, HIV things. And that led me to my conclusion that after my second studies, business informatics, I really want to see that IT is aligned to society. And that made me realize I should do something with that. Well, my first step into it is, because I'm not a practitioner, is do the study, try to understand what it is. So my master's studies was about ICT for development. That led to a thesis, which was published about multinational IT companies, and that was fine. That was good. But it also brought me actually in touch with NGOs, development NGOs. And then I realized that development NGOs are doing actually something in the field of development, realizing potential for human beings in poor conditions. And while I was looking at these development NGOs, I thought, wait a minute, there's a similarity in what they are doing, and actually you can see, watch these pictures underneath, and things you can see in developing countries. They're communicating. So I was peeking, so let's say, looking from somebody's shoulder, what are they doing? To whom are they communicating? And I thought it would be probably only to their own colleagues. It wasn't true. Actually, they were communicating with people across the world. We have villages in India. That guy works for Navur, and Navur means neighbor in Afrikaner. And they have lots of communities, villages connected in India to the system. A social network for villages for knowledge transfer. And these guys, they were tweeting with people across the world about collaboration together. And I thought, wait a minute, that's important for me to know. These people are in a way connected with some people maybe there. So that led to my idea for the research. So the research design is just by coincidence. I was there in the room, saw something, and came with an idea. Realizing this, I thought, okay, I need to do a little bit of Googling, seeing what happens. What is social about this? Actually, lots of social networks are being used across the world. Obviously, the most dominant ones are Facebook and Twitter. These ones you know, YouTube, and so on. But there are some others across the world which we do not know that much about. In China, they have QQ, and so there are the others. So that made me realize that you have to be aware of the local context when you are talking about social media to see its potential, or maybe its failure. Because truly, as a scientist, we definitely have to say, okay, I shouldn't have, let's say, this prejudice that I think it's only positive. The impact of ICT can have a negative impact as well. So stay calm and look at it. So to make my idea a little bit, how do you say, more solid, concrete, and think about it, how to make it useful, because that's my personal journey. I'm not going to do research because of scientific papers. I'm not interested in scientific papers. I'm self-funded, so I can say that freely. I like to write scientific papers, but the most essential part of it is the applicability. Practitioners, they should have benefits from it. That's my real, let's say that's my lifestyle. I'm self-funded, so I can do that. So what I thought would be useful to do is look at those organizations which are using social media intensively. So let's say front runners, when you are looking at the market perspective. And what are they doing with it? Just to have an ID. And from that ID, I can design, let's say I can first target organizations which I'm looking at. And from that, I can see what kind of info can I get from out of these organizations. I'm going to talk about all the pictures here, but just these are examples of how certain organizations are using social media. The potential of social media and the concept of development is actually embedded within the definition of social media. It's about collaboration, it's about connectedness, it's about creativity actually too. It's about creating, it's about sharing. All these things, in a way, have been shown today at IPID as well. By the way, we are communicating with each other, sharing knowledge and all these things. So, in essential, technology can have these aspects as well. But, great but. Before doing research, you have to think of how to be able to do your research. How to get the data to make your question right. My question is actually, what is the potential and what are the pitfalls of use of social media by Dutch development NGOs? What does it mean? Last year, words mean Dutch development NGOs that I need to have a kind of relationship with them. I actually established a bit of relationship. That's nice. By the way, I have some Dutch cookies as well for the coffee break afterwards.
After the feedback, right?
Afterwards. Whatever you want. But how to build trust? How to build trust? You can do it actually in this modern time, online, offline. And as we IPID fellows, we have potential in our hand, gold in our hand, to do something with it. Actually what I did was I used Twitter to communicate about ICT for development. As a matter of fact, today about the publication of Spider, I just published it. I saw it retweeted by a lot of people. So you see, people are interested in the topic. They don't know me. They know sometimes I have probably a relevant message. I'm not tweeting that I'm eating a chocolate bar, which might be the case quite often. But I tweet about ICT for development or about my work, higher education and IT. And then they follow, see something interesting, so they stick to me suddenly. So I did the same. I made a local community, which is about social media for development, all Dutch NGOs, you can read it. And all other things online. But I also went to their meetings. Here I am. So that gave some trust. And from that trust, relationship was built. With that relationship, I could think of learning. What can I learn from looking at what is happening and acquiring data online, looking at what they are doing with Facebook, tweets, whatever, offline, when I'm observing people, these organizations, how they are communicating with other NGOs, Dutch NGOs, or with other stakeholders like the organizations in the south, which they are communicating with, or the local people who actually are receiving their help. Can they be brought on board of the communication? This picture is actually, I'm positioning myself here right now, like a baby. Why? What does this mean? A PhD is a journey. A PhD is like development. It's getting older, getting mature, getting to know knowledge. And so as I already said, there is a kind of relationship between students and teachers. I sometimes have the face of a teacher when I'm talking with bachelors. But at the same time, I behave or feel like a little kid, like a baby, when I'm talking with my supervisor, Professor Kathy Oberhardt. And I think I produced a lot of shit. So that's the reason I think I'm still one of these, a baby, instead of, let's say, an adolescent and having more self-confidence about what I'm doing. At the moment, that's my state of PhD. Looking at the time, looking that I'm almost done, getting access is very essential before doing the analysis. From my perspective, the question is very broad what I took. So I didn't take a priori theoretical frameworks or, how do you say, models to use. I just took a high-level lens to look at things. What are the things happening when social media is implemented in an organization? Essential thereby is what are people doing with each other? How are skills improved? How are skills and knowledge transferred? So social capital is an important factor, human capital is an important factor. Actually, cultural capital is also important in knowledge transfer. So these aspects are, that's my lens, let's say, my idea of looking at the world and what these interactions are doing. The methodology I use is a very broad methodology. There are several streams in it. It's called grounded theory. Grounded in the sense of rooted close to the data. You stay, you stick, you live with the data, you get your ideas out of it, you try to refine from it, you try to conceptualize it, code it in a way, and try to make it understandable for others. How do you do? Because it's your own language when you are using coding. Well, there are procedures, there is a recipe that you can follow from starting with your own language and trying to become a translator and then to be able to talk with academic society and to make connections, because you have created something, you have still to think, what has the world created? There is a body of knowledge. All of you have bright ideas. And maybe there is a similarity with the things I'm thinking of, and the things you are thinking of. So, to do that, grounded theory has a process of constant two things. The cycle of data acquisition, data collection, data analysis. You're going back, you're taking those data you need for analysis, you think of it, and then you go back to the theory, talk with people, get to know where are the connections with these things which are already there, or did I bring something new? And that travel and the journey back and forth, that's more or less my PhD journey. Thank you. It's not typically for only grounded theory approach, by the way. Realizing that there are patterns in your data. There are more frameworks you can use, methodologies, by the way. But it is a part of it. So my theory essentially should come out of the data as a pattern. But it's not on its own. I should constantly compare it with theory already there and with, let's say, emerging theory which I created along the road. The way you do it is laborious. It takes time. Post-its, a lot of post-its, by the way. That's my first time. I told them how I did it the first time. Paper. Kathy told me, do it with paper. Stick close to the data, don't use a computer. Hey, we are in ICT, don't use a computer. Read your text, try to live it. Second time, third time, fourth time, you can use a computer, no problem. You know you have management tools for it, but it helps. And then it grows essentially by the years. And probably in 4 or 5 years, I'm a PhD part-time student. There will be a theory. I'll leave it to that, but I'll just reveal a few things I already got from my analysis. Only 2 themes. Risk. That is something which I can highlight. Organizations are worried about using social media. They're afraid of it. They like the fact that there is exposure, but they don't know what will happen when something negative comes out. And you see some big organizations in the development area try to keep it contained. Young organizations with younger people think, okay, we'll try, we fail, we'll try it again. So these things happen. Risk and control are things which are emerging. But another thing, which is more on the positive side, is they see there's connectedness, there's engagement, there's stickiness. If you say something, people will remember that. They will try to come back to you. And in a positive way, you can include people. So local societies, local communities in the south are being included in projects which are designed in, let's say, northern countries. So in that way, it's a southern ID suddenly, and that's even better, I think. But these are just things I see. How to go to theory later, obviously, I have to use theories which are applicable in this aspect. One of the things I probably will look at is actor network theory, which has, let's say, ingredients to make it usable in this field. Because you are not only looking at people, you're also looking at internet technology, objects, and these things, and try to get an understanding of both sides. I'll leave it to here. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. Any question for Anand? Lucia? No, oh, sorry. Monirul, please.
There are lots of misuse of grounded theory, which is reported in a number of studies.
Yeah.
So being a PhD student, it's a significant threat. So what you would handle the threats of grounded theory? How could you handle that?
There is definitely a lot of abuse of ground theory. Let's say it forward. A lot of people use the word ground theory, and actually it's not ground theory, it's coding. Let's make that clear. There's a definite distinctive distinction between methodology and method. So I'm trying to look within the framework of methodology. So these are the slides I didn't use because this is too much PowerPoint like, but it's very useful. You have to understand, where do you come from? What's your idea, your philosophy in your life? And what kind of things do you want to do, a qualitative approach or a quantitative? Is it a broad idea? And what kind of methodology fits in? And in what kind of way are you thinking? Interpretive, critical, positive? So that is essential for using. Within grounded theory, there are, let's say, streams of thinking and applying the method, whether it's laser or it's Strauss or, let's say, modern version. I don't mind which one. I just took the one which I not only felt comfortable with, but I had, let's say, access to read and felt, let's say, this suits to me. It has not too much grammar rules that I have to abide. And that's the one of laser I'm trying to find solvable for my case. I have to admit, the first time I tried, I failed miserably. The second time, I failed a little bit less. Third time, it's getting better. My sixth analysis became something which I thought, hey, this is something I can show to my professor. It takes time, the first time. But it's like cycling or swimming. These are techniques you have to learn. And a good supervisor, and actually I have one which is close to the fire. She has just published a book about grounded theory. So I get a rigorous test on whether I'm applying the methodology right.
Any more questions?
Very interesting and very systematic. So you are talking about the social capital lens.
That's a starting point.
You just want to look into the characteristics of the social capital, or you're also looking into different forms of social capital, bond increasing. It has different implications.
Yeah, actually different forms as well. But it was just as a starting point because I needed something to make it for me feasible to look at the world in that sense. From there, probably I will be moving on and getting new insights which would be more applicable in my context, because alongside grounded theory, in a way you are detaching yourself from theory, but it doesn't mean you are not reading. At the same time you are reading current literature, and I see, let's say, some new ideas I could bring in for new analysis methods like the actor network theory, which I think will be very applicable to the collection of data I have. So it's like a gradual process in which you just started, and then maybe you shove away some of these presumptions, start and build up later. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, sorry, thank you so much, Mr. Anand. These are last presentations from the student group of IPID. Now we will have a short coffee break. This will be 5 minutes.
I promised the cookies, I will bring them.
Then we will move to the panel session. So by 3:20. So let's join with the coffee. 3:20 will be fine, right? 5 minutes.
5 minutes coffee break. It's not practical. It's very theoretical.
Because I'm quite tired. This professor, they're very senior.
What do you have next?
Cookies.
More cookies.
Please.
Up to 1 hour. For 1 hour.
So please, I would appreciate if you please forward your slides to me. I will post it in IPID. Some of you, okay, I can come from there. So if you don't, you can send it to my email.
I hope you take it.
Do you have all the receipt for everything?
Well, my air ticket cost this much. So
Right, yeah.
I don't know, I just put in everything. Because again, if you're transferring to an Indian bank, you need all of these details.
No, just trying to edit, but then I just use the browser.
He anticipated all the questions.
You couldn't
Yeah, the receipt may not be yeah. If you expect something not you mentioned that or not, also need to break it.
I got something.
This will be better for the accounts will go for
But you plan, you were supposed to
to exceed most of them are freezing. You mentioned the law, then have it in the cell of because the island is not Norwegian language.
Which I would have liked, but I had
Yeah.
a social meeting for dinner.
So I will show
I come from New York and I should know what and not to. Probably not bring a jacket.
I mean,
To the Northern Flight.
But the accounts they might see because last just write that something like I was there in this total must reflect the receipt just write that the missing receipts what we call the bus driver or something. We'll understand. Right. So, yeah. Do you understand? So, if you have a question for the panel, please don't forget to put it in your ask it. It's quite essential.
It's a written question. It's a written question.
Yeah, something. Dictated question. Would you like to have a we have some fruits as well.
Some fresh water or whatever. Just have one question. What are you smoking? Sorry about that. Just a joke.
Yeah, but it makes sense
But I really didn't understand what the balloon was about. I really didn't understand what the balloon was about. What's it about? Is it a psychological experiment somehow? Was it?
Yes, then you reflect and then like experience, then you remember it.
Yeah, but that there's so much about
More than
pure.
Yeah, but what if you don't remember? Being 7 years old and walking down the street.
No, I mean, but then opinion of that and having that experience, you maybe relax,
Yeah, it's
imagine,
very weird.
which is different than what you typically experience.
Yeah.
Or more that than, I mean, if you was in real life, you could imagine that, that's perfect. See what you speak, it's something that you have to work more on that, but I mean, the point that you have experience here, and maybe you remember that more than the scheme that you see in life.
Hey, give, oh sorry. Give your USB. So all the folder presented here, all the presentation will give Mr. Siraj. Siraj did not bring it USB. So I'm giving it. Could you please just take the folder, desktop. Go to Anand and take it, give it to him, then he will post all these things.
Your name is here, address is here, your bank account.
Name on account is this. And you read everything. Like MICR code, I have
You are more than what you are asking for.
yeah. This is the ticket that I have to and I
You don't need to eat something?
I put 4,500 you said.
The cookies?
Yeah.
But which one beer? This one. Okay. So your signature over here.
Okay. And then the second question is for this. Can I please have a picture of
And then that after the war.
Stamp is so needed, right? Get another one. You have that.
What is this?
To Russia for
No, I'm not getting money from the
Only right.
enough to allow them to educate schools higher education and everything. Some of them
maybe if I
so this kind of things have been
Babuji, can I still?
Small country like Norway.
I can find myself. Well, I have been born in the flood.
Yeah, I see.
Most of my life I spent in that. It was sad seeing
What about?
and for me it was a few years before.
in general,
When did you come back? When was This is my personal
I need to